This is the pendant that we're going to make. And this is what it looks like on the back. It's got a flat back. This is another one made as a white spider on a blue cabochon. This one is a purple spider, and this one has the custom beaded bail, which I have another video for. And this one is a light blue spider. So let's talk about the materials that we're going to need. For this pendant, you're going to need a 25 by 18 millimeter cabochon that's flat back. This one is resin, and it used to be lighter, but it kind of yellowed over time, which is actually perfect for this project. It's pretty thin as far as thickness goes, but it is flat back. The other one I used was acrylic, and it was also flat back, but slightly thicker, and it still worked with this pattern. You're also going to need 12 4mm bicone crystals, and you're going to need 15 seed beads, as well as 2 colors of 11/0 Toho seed beads, one that matches the 15/0 seed beads, and then the spider color. And for the spider's body, you're going to need one 6 by 8 millimeter rondelle crystal and a 4 by 6 millimeter rondelle crystal. You'll also need a jump ring or a bail to connect it to a chain. So let's get started. Because we're working with 15 seed beads, which are really tiny, I'm using a very small size 12 needle with 4-pound fire line. And I'm going to start at the other end of my thread by putting a stop bead on. Kind of tie that loosely. I'll start by stringing on a spider color 11/0, 3/15s, 11/0, 3/15s, 11/0, and 3/15. So basically 3, 3, and 3 with an 11/0 spider color behind them. Next, I'll put on an 11/0 spider color, 4/15s, 11/0, 4/15s, 11/0, and 4/15. So it's basically 4, 4, and 4 with a spider color 11/0 behind them. And string that on. I'll repeat those 2 steps. So 3, 3, and 3 of the 15s with a spider color 11/0 behind each of those. And finally 4, 4, and 4 with an 11/0 behind each one. And string that on. And now I want to go back up through all of those beads to form a loop. So I just kind of feed my needle through as far as it will go. And before pulling it all the way tight, I want to go through all of them. It just makes it easier. So as far as my needle will go. And through this last group here. So now if I pull the whole thing tight, it forms a ring. And now that I have my ring, I no longer need my stop bead, so I'll just pull that off. and I'll tie a knot. So at this point, I'm going to not snip these ends yet. They're kind of like a marker because I'm going to make another loop exactly like this. So I'll snip it with a tail, and then I'll start my next loop. Okay, I've made my second identical loop, and I want to go through the next 11-0 seed bead next to where my thread started. Then I put on 2 15s, an 11-0 of the same color, and 2 15s. And I go through the next 11-0 in the ring. Again, 2 15s, an 11-0, and 2 15s, and go through the next 11-0. Two 15s, an 11-0, and 2 15s, and go through the next 11-0. And I want to repeat that all the way around. I'm on my last one, 2 15s, 11-0, and 2 15s, and now I'm back where my thread started, and I'm going to go through that 11-0. And then I'm going to continue up through the 2 15s and the 11-0. So I'm coming out the tip. Okay, so now I'm ready for the next row where we're going to connect to the other ring. And what we want to do is put our ring kind of on top of it and making sure all the threes line up. And you could start by the threads should match, but if they're not matching the 3s to 4s, just flip it over. And if you match where the threads are coming out, they should match up. 3, 3, 3, 4. So kind of want to hold that in position. Now that it's lined up, 2 threads are coming out the same. And here we're going to add 2 15-0s. And I'm coming out of this thread. I want to go down through this 11-0 in the ring. Then I add 2 15s and I go through the next tip of the first ring, or I should say the second ring that has the loops on it. So we've just completed our first little connection here, and we're going to repeat that all the way around. Add 2 15-ohs, and we go through the next 11-oh in the first ring. Add 2 15s and go through the next tip in the second ring. So as you can see, we're kind of zigzagging them together. Add 2 15s and go through the next 11-oh in the first ring. Add 2 15s, go through the tip in the second ring. Add 2 15s, go through the next 11-oh. Add 2 15s and go through the next tip in the second ring. And we'll just continue that all the way around until we're maybe about 75% done with the ring. All right, so I've finished about 75% of connecting the two rings. And so now I'm ready to put the cabochon in, but first I think I'm going to snip these ends. I no longer need them as markers. So I'm going to snip these ends and then insert the cabochon. Okay, I've snipped the ends. And before I put the cabochon in, I want to find the 3 groups of 3. Those are going to be the top and the bottom of the cabochon. So I want to take that middle group of 3, pull it a little bit, so that's my oval. So here I'm going to put in the cabochon so that it's face down, and I kind of want to move it to where that middle group of 3 is at the top. That should also put the bottom group of 3, or the middle group of 3 at the bottom, here. So here and here is the top and bottom. Okay, so now I can finish zipping this up. Add 2 15s and go through the next tip. Add the next 2 15s and go through the next seed bead. In the ring. Add 2 more 15s. Go through the tip in the second ring. Add 2 15s and go through this seed bead in the first ring. And it looks like we put 2 more 15s and we're at our last one going through the tip here. So that's pretty stable, but if you want to further stabilize this from moving around inside, we'll continue and through these next 2 15s. And we're going to go around this back ring until we're coming out of this particular seed bead. So basically you have this groups of 4 here, and it's going to be coming out of this seed bead. So I'm going to follow that around. So I'm coming out of this seed bead, which is between this group of 4 and this group of 4. So it's like what we're going to do is kind of do a figure 8 here to stabilize. Before I do this, I really want to double check that this middle group of 3 is at the top and the other one is at the bottom. Okay, so I add 9 seed beads, 11 O's. You can do them in either color, it doesn't really matter because this is the back. And I want to go diagonal, so I want to be going through this seed bead, the next 4 15s, and the next seed. This is the middle of the side here. Then I add 4 seed beads, and I want to go through the middle seed bead here. That would be the 5th. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Add 4 more seed beads, and I want to go through this seed bead, the next 4, and the next seed bead, 11 O. So I've created kind of a stabilizing X here. I'm going to continue to create one more stabilizing row here, and so I'm going to continue around the ring until I'm coming out of the middle 15-0. That's in the middle 3 group, so 3, 3, and 3, the middle seed bead there. So I'm going to continue around this loop here. Okay, I'm coming out of that middle 15-0. I'm going to add 6 11-0s, and I want to go through this middle seed bead right to left. I'll add 6 more seed beads, and then I want to go through the middle 15 seed bead at this end. I want to go back up the 6 I just added. Then I'll go through the middle seed bead, left to right this time. And back up the 6 at the top here. Now I want to go through that middle 15 seed bead again and continue it. I want to be coming out the tip here, so I'm going through right now 2 15 seed beads, an 11-0, and a 15 around the edge. So I want to continue through the next 15 till I'm coming out the 11-0 in that, the 11-0 in that tip. Okay, and so this is what it looks like in the front. So we'll continue the next step. Add 5 spider colors, and then go through the next tip along the side here. Add 5 seed beads, and go through the next tip along the side. Add 5 11-0s of the spider color, go through the next tip. And we'll continue that all the way around. I'm on my last one, adding 5 spider color seed beads, going through that tip, and then going through the next 3. Now I'm ready to add the crystals. So we add the other color of 11-0, 4mm crystal, 11-0, and go through the next tip. 11-0, 4mm, 11-0, go through the next tip. $11.0, 4mm, 11-0, go through the next tip. And we'll just continue that all the way around. Here I'm on the last one. Seed bead, 4mm crystal, 11-0 seed bead. And I want to go through the tip plus continue around the row of crystals I just added. And I want to go all the way around until I'm coming out of the seed bead before this one in the tip. So I'm going to continue that all the way around to reinforce it. Typically go through the tip and then the seed bead, crystal seed bead, and just repeat that all the way around. Now I'm coming out of the seed bead before the middle crystal at the top. And this is what it looks like on the other side, looking very nice. Next, I'll put on 5 seed beads of the metallic color. And I'm going to skip the crystal and continue through the seed bead, the next 2 seed beads, and then sort of continue this around through the crystal row. Just keep following it around. Okay, so I've reinforced this crystal row, and so I'm going to go ahead and tie a knot here. I'm going to put my needle under the thread between these 2 seed beads. I'm going to go through the loop once, through the loop twice. Make sure my thread's in between those 2 seed beads and pull tight to tie the knot. So now I can snip that end off, and then I'm ready to start the spider part. Okay, I've snipped the end off of my cabochon. I'm going to set it aside here to start the spider. So my holes in these crystals are a little bit bigger, so I'm using 11-0 seed beads. I'd rather use 15 here if I could, but then those go through the holes. So if you can, use 15s here, but I'm using 11-0s for these crystals. So I have my 6x8 millimeter Rondell crystal, an 11-0, 4x6 millimeter crystal and an 11-0. And I'm going to string that on. Then I'm going to go back through the crystal, the seed bead, and the crystal. And that's going to form the body of the spider. I'll add one more 11-0 and string it on. Then I'll tie a knot. Now I'll go back through the larger crystal and come out the middle. And I can go through that middle seed bead or not, it doesn't matter. I just want to be coming out of the middle. I add 8 spider color seed beads, 11-0s, and I string that on. And I kind of want this to wrap around the middle, so I'm going to kind of put it around and go through the first few of them again. So that it kind of goes around and kind of forms a ring around the middle. I'm going to continue to reinforce that, just to continue through that loop in the middle. Making sure it's pulled tight. Okay, I've gone through a couple times around the ring. So now I'll make my first leg. So I put on 7 seed beads because this is going to be the back leg, and I string that on. Now the way the spider legs are going to connect is through these 4 seed beads, skipping these 2 on the bottom, and through these 4. So there's 2 that they don't go through on the top and the bottom, but these 4 are the legs. And since I want my spider facing this up this way towards the top here, I'm going to go through this seed bead because this is the back furthest leg. Then I go back up through 6 of them. Six of the 7 I just put on. And I kind of pull that tight. Now I'm going to make a second back leg on the same side. I add 5 spider color seed beads, and I go through the next seed bead. I go back up the 5 I just put on, plus the next one, which was the first one of the back leg. Pull that tight. Then I want to go through 3 seed beads in this middle ring of the spider body. So continuing through one, 2 seed beads. and one more. So I've gone through 3 seed beads in that middle ring around the spider body. Now I'm going to make the 2 back legs on this side. I add 7 seed beads. And I want to go through, since these will be the 4 legs, I want to go through the back furthest one. Another way to look at it is it should be 2 between this back leg and this back leg. And I go back up 6. Now I'll make the other back leg, add 5 seed beads, and go through this next seed bead. I want to go back up the 5 I just put on, plus the next seed bead, which would have been the first seed bead of the back leg. And pull that all tight. Then we want to go through 3 seed beads in the inner ring. Now we're ready to make the front legs. Add 6 seed beads. And we skip one, go through this one for the front leg on this side. Pulls the spider up a little bit. Then I want to go back up 5 of those. I'll add 5 seed beads for the last leg on this side and go through this seed bead. I want to go back up through the 5 I just put on, plus the seed bead at the top of the first leg. Then I go through 3 seed beads in the inner ring. Pull that tight. Get this thread out of the way. Okay, so now we're ready to make our last 2 legs. I add 6 seed beads. I skip this seed bead and go through this one for the other front leg. And I go back up 5. Pull that tight. We add 5 seed beads for this last leg. going through this seed bead. And I want to go back up 5 that I just put on, plus 1 more. And I want to go back through the 3 in the inner ring. I want to pull everything tight here. And now I just need to weave it through a little bit before tying a knot. So just weave down this leg. And maybe go around this ring. That's probably good. So I can tie a knot here by putting my needle under the thread. Going through the loop once and twice to tie the knot. And that's pretty much the finished pendant. I'm going to snip the ends and then add the jump ring. Okay, I've snipped the ends and now I'm ready to add my jump ring. So I take my jump ring and I open it. I feed it through the top. Then I can add it to a chain and close it. And that is the finished pendant.